Alright, so here's the game we're playing. My mother-in-law is in Hendersonville, and as the Hurricane Helene approached the mountains of western North Carolina, the first area after which the altitude affected the storm and started dumping water is Hendersonville. So when you see the reports, it's one of the worst hit areas of western North Carolina. And she's in a independent living area, but there is no power. And we're told she only is having one meal a day. So we're off to do a rescue mission. We're not sure if we're going to be able to get there because all the signs are indicating emergency traffic only. Except I just stopped at a Circle K in order to top off before heading into the unknown. And there was a gentleman in a Ford F-150 Lightning doing a refuel after coming out of there. And he said, as long as you stick to the interstate, you should be able to get all the way into Asheville. And we don't need to get into Asheville. We're just going part of the way into Hendersonville. So we're going to see how this works. Hopefully we'll be able to get our hands on her, put her in the car, and get her the heck out of Dodge. Okay, so where we live in Charlotte, North Carolina, we did have the power knocked out for 36 hours straight. We had distribution lines get taken out from the storm. The initial squall line snapped a pole, and then the floodwaters prevented crews from getting in order to repair the lines feeding our community and a couple of others. This is a town called Shelby where it's starting to look a little bit grim, and a lot of people going to the rescue with fuel and water are the two things we're seeing hauled in a lot. So I was a little conflicted about making a YouTube video. My wife said go ahead because there might be people who want to see what the view on the ground actually is. So I went ahead and did it just in case there's some value there. But this is a bit of a family emergency for us, so there is the private nature of that. But I will record just the situation as far as the travel to and from western North Carolina, and whether or not we're able to successfully get my mother-in-law extracted from the madness, because nothing's worse than being stuck without power. And also the grocery stores are not getting replenished. There's reports of problems at gas stations because there's so little fuel, and it's just not the right place to be. So we're gonna try to get her and bring her back to our place for a couple of weeks. Okay, so we're nearing the center of the town of Shelby. There is no electricity throughout this entire town. All the stoplights are out, leaving them to four-way stops. Traffic is pretty heavy. There seems to be one Lowe's that's open where people are going for like water and things like that, but it's definitely a pretty grim situation. Okay, we're getting close to Forest City, which is the last town before the elevation gain into western North Carolina. And as a former Florida resident, I was there for 10 years, developed a bit of a second sense for storm tracking, as everyone who lives in Florida or the Caribbean does over time. The problem with this storm was not that it made landfall as a Category 4. The problem was that it had forward speed, which was far in excess of what hurricanes normally have. And so once a storm starts getting that forward speed, at some point it's going to release all of its energy somewhere. And it just so happened, because of the elevation gain associated with the Blue Ridge Escarpment, which is the granite wall that is the eastern facing edge of the Blue Ridge Mountains, it chose to release its energy there. Right now we're probably about 5% of the trees being felled as a result of the storm, and I'm assuming that percentage is going to increase as we continue on. Alright, this is the Blue Ridge Escarpment, that granite wall I was referring to that marks the eastern edge of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And when Hurricane Helene, a fast forward moving Category 4 hurricane, met this ridge, it decided to release its energy there. And when it did, unfortunately, it dropped somewhere around 20 inches plus of rain in this area. The 20 inches of rain, because of gravity and hydrodynamics, needed to find a way down. And as it did, it began boring new paths, taking out everything that would be in its way, including roads, interstates, bridges, telephone poles, electricity. My mother-in-law went dead silent. We could not get in contact with her, which meant that all the cell phone towers were without electricity. And having been through multiple hurricanes in the state of Florida, as we lived there for 10 years, I know that once all the cell phone towers go out and there's no power, and the municipalities put in boil water effects, the ability to live comfortably quickly comes to an end. And really your only choice at that point is to just get out of town. And wait until the municipalities come back to life. Yeah, so now that we are on top of the Blue Ridge Mountains and in the altitude where the energy was released, the number of trees that have been felled as a result of the storm has definitely gone up. Just from rough estimates, I say we're probably about 20% of the trees now, maybe 25, something like that, and I'm expecting that to continue to go up. Just passing the town of Saluda. All right, as we approach our exit, which is Hendersonville, North Carolina, which unfortunately is one of the most hard-hit communities here in Western North Carolina by all accounts of news, and the news reports are still a little bit spotty, but from what we gather, Hendersonville has had multiple neighborhoods completely submerged underwater and is likely one of the most dramatically hit communities in Western North Carolina. There's the typical foliage damage that you would expect to see from a hurricane zone, which is felled trees, and the trees that are remaining have a good portion of their leaves blown off from the high winds.
Take exit 49B for US, 64 west toward Hendersonville.
So you can see people hauling water in, and the reason why it's a very valuable commodity in a situation like this is the municipalities have to issue boil water orders, but there's really no way to boil water when you don't have electricity. It becomes a vicious circle. You can't drink the water, and you have to boil it to be able to drink it, but you can't boil it. So bottled water is really your only option at that point. All right, we've made it. We're gonna spring my mother-in-law free from this place, bring her back home, give her some electricity and a nice hot shower, some warm food, and return her after a couple of weeks. Thanks for watching.